Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's me, Noshina Hussein, your nonprofit navigator, and I'm here to talk to you about a couple of different concepts around leadership. So let's get started. Now, for those of you who may not know, I am actually a doctoral student at the Indiana University's Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. And I am doing my doctorate in Muslim American nonprofit leaders, specifically about Muslim women in nonprofit leadership. And I'm in my second year, and my applied research project teaches me a lot of different things around philanthropy, leadership, and inquiry. And so, one of the things that I've learned is having an entire class dedicated to leadership practices and different leadership theory models. Now, one of those classes has taught me around this concept of transformational leadership. And it's about this study research that two individuals, Bernard Bass and Ronald Riggio, wrote an article called Transformational Leadership. And what they talk about is just how you go from moving from being a transactional leader to really being transformational. And so it's talking about like building an organization versus leading a movement, which many of us are involved in. And so, how do you help followers grow? Develop skills of your staff so that they can also become leaders, and you are not doing leadership all by yourself, but you are training people to be leaders within their own position, within their own title, and not necessarily having to be head of an organization. So, how do we build transformational leadership and motivate others to do more than what's intended in their job description, right? How do we provide agency to not only ourselves, but those who are in our organization? So, we need to pay attention to really centering the lived experiences of all those who are involved in the work that we are trying to move forward. And so I want to help you understand that there are different elements of what makes a leader transformational. And today we're going to talk about four of those categories. And the first one is around being idealized influence, having idealized influence. And so think about leaders that you have seen who you really find to be like role models for you, people that you look up to and you want to be like them, right? You want to emulate them in the way that they are leading. These are people who take risks, who are courageous and brave and bold, and they're trying to really change the world for a better place. And finally, they're consistent, right? So their actions align with their values, align with their morals, and you don't see them being different in different places and spaces, right? They are very consistent in the way that they show up. Now, a second element of a transformational leader is that their inspirational motivation. These are people who, when they speak, you are ready to take action. You are motivated by what they're saying. They are very attuned into inspiring you. They're enthusiastic in the change that they want to see in the world. And they're very optimistic and hopeful. I mean, how many times have you come across somebody that's just a Debbie Downer? But a transformational leader is somebody who's really optimistic and hopeful and will inspire you to dream and vision a future that is so much better than today. Another element of a transformational leader is intellectual stimulation, right? This sounds like really big, right? So I think the information that these two authors really talk about is just how a transformational leader leans into creativity. I mean, they are just it's encouraged, right? They want to think outside the box. They want innovation. They want to make sure that you use your brain and your creativity in transforming not only yourself but the community that you are a part of. One thing I really appreciate about transformational leaders is that they don't publicly call out their staff or people that they work with around their mistakes. And this is such an important thing because we are definitely in a very call out cancel culture. But to, publicly humiliate somebody because of a mistake they made. This is not what you find in a transformation leader. If anything, if you make a mistake, this leader will come to you privately and have a conversation with you and figure out and help you understand why you made that mistake and how you can correct it moving forward. And then finally, what's really important is that a transformational leader will try new things, right? How many times have we been in a work culture where, oh, we've never done it that way, right? And they aren't willing to try new things. But we all know that you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results, right? I think that's the definition of insanity. A transformational leader who exhibits intellectual stimulation is going to encourage that we try new things. They themselves are going to try new things, and they're going to encourage you to try new things. And then finally, an element of a transformational leader is just their individual consideration. They are considering you as an individual, right? So how is a leader a coach? How is this leader a mentor, right? Somebody that is helping another person get better, be better. Somebody that you go to that will help coach you on how to do things, how to say things, how to be. Somebody who will mentor you. And so these four elements really help a person become a transformational leader, and they are characteristics that they embody. So take a moment now. I want you to either just listen to this few next sentences, but then maybe pause this video so that you can do a little reflection exercise and write down answers to these questions. But when you look at the elements of transformational leader, where do you see yourself? Like which parts of those, which elements of those leadership qualities do you embody? Think about that for a second and write that down. And then think about where are some ways that you could improve? How could you be better at an idealized influencer? How can you be an inspirational motivator? How can you think about others and coach and mentor? And then finally, I want you to tie this right back to our deen, right? Right back to the sunnah. There are so many stories in this era, but how does the Prophet ﷺ embody these same qualities? Because I for sure can see all of these in the Prophet ﷺ, right? This is like the perfect human that we were blessed with, but he was our role model. He did take risks. He absolutely motivated and inspired us. And he wanted us to try new things. What was that new thing? Monotheism, right? La ilaha illallah. And so I want you to think about some stories from this era that really manifested and showed these qualities of the Prophet ﷺ. So think about how if you improve these qualities, how you would be practicing the sunnah. Like this is really powerful for me. Now, another area of nonprofit leadership that we learned about is something that Bert Nanos and Stephen Dobbs talked about in their book called Leaders Who Make a Difference: Essential Strategies for Meeting the Nonprofit Challenge. I know it's a mouthful, but the Nanos and Dobbs, they have this really interesting framework around 4 directions of focus of nonprofit leaders. And it's how you look inside the organization, outside the organization, how you look at present operations, and how you look at future possibilities. And these aren't just skills that you have to attain before you become a leader, but they're actually skills you gain as you lead and as you become more successful in the work that you're doing. Now, let's talk a little bit about inside the organization. So many of us are very, very familiar with when we are leading our organizations that we have to interact with people that are internal to our organization, whether that's board, staff, volunteers, right, allies, different people that you collaborate with, different organizations that you work with. This is who a leader is constantly interacting with, right? And a leader in this sense is not just you as an executive director, but you as an employee, as a staff person, as a board member, when you are interacting with others inside the organization. But as a leader, as somebody who is exhibiting leadership qualities, you want to make sure you are inspiring the people that you are interacting with, that you are encouraging them to do mission work, that you are enthusiastic about the work, and you are promoting that enthusiasm. And you want to make sure that you are empowering others to take action, to do great work, and to be fulfilling the mission of the organization. So think about, again, you can take a pause here of this video, but how are you leading inside your organization, right? What of those qualities or characteristics do you see yourself embodying with your board, with your staff, with volunteers, with people who are inside the organization? Now, the second focus is around being outside the organization. The leader seeks support from a lot of people outside of the organization, right? So think about how you look for donors and grant makers for financial support or for strategic support. Think about allies that you work with, even different organizations that are outside of your community who help further your mission. Even the media is a part of the support system, right? Who's writing great articles about the work that you are doing? Who is providing a positive image of the work that you're doing? I especially look at media journalists who provide a very positive viewpoint of who Muslim women are. Think about the business leaders in the outside of your organization who are promoting your organization, who are supporting your organization. And finally, last but not least, which I think is a very important aspect, is outside the organization is public and government sector. And I think we realize how much advocacy is so important to our work. There are a lot of organizations that feel like they can't be advocates, that they can't interact with elected officials and they sometimes don't even realize that there's government grants out there that could be supporting their organization. So a leader is not only going to look at inside support, but also outside the organization on the different ways that people can support the organization and moving forward. So think about how you are leading outside of your organization, right? What type of advocacy work are you doing? What type of interactions are you having with media and providing an alternative positive story of the work that you were doing? How are you working with donors and grant makers to tell them how awesome the work is that you are in, but also how their support is helping you reach goals and milestones and make actual change and impact and outcomes to the community? Now, the third focus is around present operations. And so this is, I think, a real challenge many of us are facing. And I feel like this is really where I do a lot of work in helping Muslim women-led organizations focus on their infrastructure. Now, some of us are just so passionate about our mission that we're just go, go, go and doing work, but we don't realize that we need to make sure we have the right systems in place, the right structures in place, and that we are actually moving the needle on things, whether that is evaluating the quality of our services or making sure we understand how effective our organizational processes are. I have seen a lot of organizations forget about measurements and evaluation and trying to survey their constituents, the people who are actually taking advantage of their products and services to see, hey, is it working? Is it effective? What else could we be doing? And feedback is so important in making your work even better. So think about what types of systems are in place, what type of software that you need, what type of hardware do you need, what type of processes and procedures need to be put in place that help your operations of your organization really excel. So take a moment, jot down the things that you are concerned about in your operations, right? What would you need in your operational design of your organization that would help you be more successful and would allow you to transform the work that you are doing? And finally, the fourth focus is around future possibilities. And so a leader always anticipates what's going to be happening, right? They're looking at the trends. There are so many different trends. Like I think the biggest one right now is how organizations are using AI, artificial intelligence, to help further their missions. Artificial intelligence might sound scary because I know I watched Terminator 2 and it freaked me out, but I think also robots are not going to take over the world, but instead, how can I use AI to further develop and enhance the delivery of our mission statement? There are so many different developments that are happening around the world and even in our, whether it is a genocide happening or a war happening or a housing crisis, a student debt crisis, food insecurities. Like, what are the things that are happening around us that are impacting our organization's ability to function, right? These are things that are happening that may not be close to home, but could be affecting what our leadership and our organization can function. And finally, a leader constantly thinks about the future in terms of like a vision of what something wonderful and great and beautiful looks like in the future. If everything went the way it was supposed to happen and your mission was accomplished, what would the future look like? Right. So a leader is constantly thinking about that future state of like happiness and joy. And so take a moment and just pause this video and think about, what's the future hold for your organization, right? If everything happened and you met your goals and your strategy was completely fulfilled, what does the future look like for your organization? Now, when you look at this chart, you see that you've got outside organization, inside organization on one side, and then you've got the present and operations on the opposite side. But great leaders of nonprofit organizations routinely look in all four directions and could hardly afford to do otherwise. Now, you're probably thinking, how can I possibly look in all four directions simultaneously? Well, be like a flame, right? Be like a flame of a candle, where there is no one direction, right? It's in all directions. And so you're not looking at all four directions simultaneously necessarily, but you definitely are looking routinely in those directions so that you can build a better future. And so, in order for you to be an effective leader of a nonprofit organization, you must focus on all four directions and make sure that you exhibit those qualities of a transformational leader in order to excel. And so, one final reflection is, think about the directions you need to develop and how you're going to do it and who can help you. And remember, I'm always here to help you and to guide you. And so, if you have more questions or you need more information, feel free to find me on LinkedIn, subscribe to this YouTube channel, sign up for my email newsletters, and you know where to find me. I am here to help uplift all the nonprofit organizations that are serving our communities and trying to make the world a better place. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, and I look forward to talking to you again. Take care and masalama.